Right now is the most critical time for us to take back control of our food supply and become self-reliant by having our very own food forest. Transform your yard into a food forest and create a system of self-reliance that's easy and enjoyable with our friends at Food Forest Abundance. No matter where you're starting from, you can become more self-reliant. You can take your self-reliance to the next level by becoming a producer of your own food through growing and foraging. Learn how to turn your property into an income-producing source of economic self-reliance. If you're ready to go off-grid, click the link in the description and use coupon code FORBIDDEN for discounts on your very own food forest with Food Forest Abundance. Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is TruthSeekah. First, a couple of announcements. If you have a business, product, offering a service, you have a podcast you want to promote, anything you want to showcase on a large scale, advertise with Forbidden Knowledge News. Email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. We'll get you some details and options that get you the most effective ads and promotions possible. Our website is forbiddenknowledge.news. This is also the Forbidden Knowledge Network. That's where you find some of your favorite podcasts featured. Forbidden Knowledge News is always on Rokfin, Odyssey, and all podcast platforms. Our social media is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out Rokfin. This is where you get our premium content. You also get all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. Go to rokfin.com/FKN Plus or click the link in the description. All those links are right there. Today I want to welcome back to the show TruthSeekah. He is a Christian mystic, best-selling author, visionary artist, seer, and songwriter. He has released over 200 songs, each one relating to the subject of spirituality. His journey has brought him through research and experience with the occult, paranormal, Christianity, ufology, and the spirit realm. This has led him into many mystical encounters with God, angels, spirits, and many other supernatural beings. As the host of the TruthSeekah podcast, he has interviewed hundreds of experts and leaders in their fields of supernatural, religious, philosophical, and paranormal studies. His desire is to help people embrace the reality of the spiritual world so they can walk in supernatural freedom in their lives. TruthSeekah, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, I'm well, brother. How are you?
I'm amazing, man. I can't complain. It's good to have you back. And this week we've been diving deep into the possible true nature of our reality and anything that exists beyond our human perception. We're going to continue that today. I want to get your understanding of some of the possible intelligences and entities that may surround us at all times that exist beyond the spectrum of our vision. These beings have been called angels, demons, disincarnate spirits, jinn, possibly even what some consider extraterrestrials. And you've had your own profound experiences with some of these entities, which I want to get into as well as your understanding of them. Before we get into any of that, it's been a little while since you've been on. Just remind the audience a little bit about yourself and what led you down your path.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you. And love to talk about all that stuff for sure. Definitely right up my alley. Had a lot of encounters, and what led me to the work that I do today is an encounter with some type of entity when I was just a child, 4 years old, having a sleep paralysis experience, waking up in the middle of the night with something in the room, some type of shadow beings on my chest, pinning me down to the bed. And so that stuck with me. And growing up, adolescence, telling ghost stories at sleepovers and things, I try to find ways to kind of weave that in and ask people if they've ever had that happen. And finally, becoming a teenager, you hear people say, yeah, or, my dad has had that happen. And yeah, there was a little man walked in my room, a shadow, and I seen it and it ran. I was like, oh, wow, okay, what is this? So yeah, tracing everything I do back, to these monumental moments in my life. And that was definitely one of the first that got me into asking the bigger, deeper questions in life.
Right on. And you mentioned it was a sleep paralysis event. I've had my own experiences with this. A long time ago, it was over 10 years ago, I believe, and it was actually during a dark time in my life. I was in a bad relationship, going through a divorce, and what I experienced, what I thought was just, the typical scientific explanation of sleep paralysis, that it's a natural thing that occurs, but I have a different understanding now. I do believe that it is much more than mainstream science would like to let on. But it all stopped for me whenever I was done with my divorce and I got myself into a better state of mind. Did you find the same thing happen for you? Did you still have experiences up until now?
It's only been a couple like that. And again, I was a kid, so I don't know if it was anything that I attracted to
Hmm.
me. But the environment. My mom and dad, they were into the party scene and stuff like that, and they'd have big parties all the time with a lot of strange individuals in and out the house. So, me thinking about that a little bit is like those people having things on them and then using drugs and all kinds of just wild stuff going on back in the 80s. And so that just makes me wonder, what the parents let into the home, something may have lingered or was in there messing with the children while, the parents are passed out and everybody's gone home or whatever the case is, children in the bed asleep. So I I'm a student, and so I have more questions, and I'll always have more questions, but I've starting to piece things together, and like you were saying at the beginning with the introduction, it's like there's so many moving parts. And is it an alien gray? Is it this? Is it that? Why are they here? So much research that I've been doing, and every day there's like a new lead or a new possibility that starts making a lot more of this phenomenon make sense. But um, yeah, them being attracted to, or I would go as far as to use the word feed on, types of feelings that humans have, and so they are attracted to you and come to drain or suck that energy. And that's something that I've been studying a lot lately, actually from the Bible, to be honest with you.
Mm. Well, let's get into your understanding of what some of these entities are. I believe there's a duality in these realms. There are benevolent and malevolent beings. Let's start with the possible negative aspects. You were mentioning beings that can drain your energy in some ways. What is your understanding of what these entities are?
Yeah. So at this point, again, because there's so many, right? There's all of these worlds or layers that overlap, and within the worlds, there's different types of entities for sure. So all of this it's definitely explained um, multidimensionally, like you're saying. And so all of this that we're talking about with entities, you can explain with people, because these people are personas or archetypes that drain you. There's people in your life that drain you, or that have spirits in them or around them that kind of just come off through conversation or that kind of thing. But I really like to dive into the spiritual aspect around it. So um, you have disembodied spirits of what people would call the fallen angels, but more in a sense of the children that were disobedient of the fallen angels and humans, if you will, that their first rebellion that they imparted into their children, that part of them can't so-called ascend back into the heavens, and it's stuck here in this realm in between the worlds, seeking rest and finding none. and seems like they get off on tormenting individuals or being able to stay alive by feeding off of that energy that humans produce. That's that lower level negative energy.
Now, you said that these beings were the product or offspring of celestial entities and humans. Would this be what we understand from the Bible as the Nephilim?
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit more, the Nephilim conversation is a little bit deeper than just that being a negative term, because it's like most researchers will just tell you, like, the introduction is like, okay, all Nephilim are evil kind of thing, but it's like not all the Nephilim chose evil. There was Nephilim who were welcomed back into the heavens. There were Nephilim. There was people who um, chose love and chose righteousness. Their names were changed later on in the Bible, kind of thing. So just it's so hard with the blanket statements and terms that we've just been easy to put something in a box and generalize it. So I would say the children. So yeah, those Nephilim, but they're children that were wicked. So you have a mixture of entities now that are living within a person. I mean, that's what we are. We are a body that has many spirits inside of it. If we want to just go off the very simple basic, soul and spirit that dwell together inside of a body. But with that, both the soul and the spirit has many moving parts, but they're all together mingled inside of us. So
I've had different researchers on that have different understandings of what people think demons are. And one of the individuals I've had on recently, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he believes it's a form of energetic consciousness that is able to communicate with humans and not necessarily physical in any way, some kind of disincarnate spirit. Is that what you understand the demons as?
yeah, it's very hard just to say, yeah, that's what they are, kind of thing. But for sure, at least some of them, let's say that, I really lend with what I call the sovereignty of God, is what I call this, as far as what you were saying about the polarities that exist. So if we're thinking about a demon or a disembodied spirit that is here to suck and to drain and to take away, um, the opposite of that would be a higher spirit that is here to give you something, to bring energy, to make you feel better, and to assist you, rather than just to come and take, bring depression, feed off of your depression. There would be other higher beings that are here to encourage you and feed off of your encouragement. And as you encourage yourself, then you're drawn to your light, or the light that is within you draws more of that type of benevolent entity. So
Now, I've had my own experience with what you would call spiritual attachments. I've had pretty profound removals of these entities. And I want to discuss a little bit about your understanding of what these entities are and the possibilities of how we are attracting them. I know that negative energy, they feed on negative energy, like you were saying earlier, but also the state of mind and the state of physiology that we can put ourselves into, say, with illicit substances or something, right?
yeah, yeah. Those substances and stuff just kind of seem to amplify what's in the individual. Um, Even the meditations and practices and stuff like that. Once you tap in, you get to see what you've been entertaining. So if it is these, if you're living a life that's conducive with those negative spirits, and because you're producing food that they eat, and so they'll continue to show up. And so um, if you continue to throw food out of your window or something, and you're disposing of your food that way, well, there's certain animals, there are certain insects that you probably never see that are going to come to that window to eat every night. Every night they'll show up, and then they'll bring more with them. But if you cut that food supply off and you quit throwing your scraps out the window or out the back door, those raccoons and those nocturnal beings or literal animals in this case that come out at night, they'll leave you alone because they don't have a home there and they can't sustain themselves by what you're feeding them. If you put other things out, they're not going to eat it. So I think it's the same way spiritually. If we continue to feed or resonate at or produce or emanate that kind of frequency, that attracts them to you. So depression, negativity, fear, terror, all of the terms that we would equate with the lower level hurtful, shameful things, yeah, it would attract that. And again, for the opposite, for that of love and light and beauty, to cut that off. So it's essentially what you would call fasting. Mm-hmm. Fasting and prayer. That's a spiritual way to look at fasting, because it totally is. And the scripture says some demons only come out by prayer and fasting. I'm not a good habitation for you. I'm not feeding you anymore. When I think those thoughts come up, I'm not giving you attention, and I'm trying to get you out of me. But then physical fasting, literally not eating food, because again, when we're talking about the multiverse, all of these realms are connected. So not eating food that attracts certain ailments, attracts certain things in your body. And so I am, maybe eating meat for some people attracts certain types of beings, because we secrete whatever's within us. So it's not what goes into the man's mouth that makes him unclean, but what comes out. So what's coming out of you, there's a cleanup crew, and I think that's what they're attracted to, being able to transmute things within your body. Now that's a interesting subject. Even though it comes in or you're around negativity and all of that environment, it doesn't cling to you. You see it, you're around it, you hear it, your friends. I mean, just the world that we're living in now is that you can't go anywhere without doom and gloom, but on the inside, you're vibrating at a higher frequency of light and love, and that stuff outside of you has no effect to you, because you're not a good place for that type of information, those type of thoughts, which are strongholds, demonic strongholds, to take place in you.
Now, I've been discussing, like I said earlier in the intro, the nature of reality and the possibilities of what we're doing here, why we're here, what this realm is, and the idea of archonic controllers or a demiurge or some kind of false god usually comes up in that conversation. The possibility that our reality has been hijacked by these entities at some point in our ancient history, or maybe even sooner than that. But these entities are the ones that are also feeding off of us, keeping us in this perpetual state of reincarnation so that we can keep coming back and they can just keep feeding on us. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to it. But it's part of the design. Like your creator, whatever we call God, like understands this. This is the way that this works. But it's for a reason. This is a test. This is a prison, if you will. Like, you're not welcome, because many people are just as evil as those that are doing the evil to them. They just don't have the power. They just don't have the authority or the money to do it on a massive level. So and they're the children, or they're related to these people, right? But so what I believe is really going on is that this place is a testing place or a sorting place to see where we go or what levels we get access to after this. Now, whether that's to keep coming back and reincarnating, but even if that is happening, at which level or which frequency, because I'm diving really deep into this in the scriptures, and reading the book of Job is very mind-blowing to read it with spiritual eyes open, and with this in mind, because Job starts out as a king with many people under him and majestic, and he was a king that was watching over a kingdom, but he ended up turning a blind eye to things that were going on in the kingdom that were what we are called demonic. He let his offspring do things to people under him, humans, if you will. And so he got punished for it. And so what happened was he got demoted to a lower level. So he's at one level, and then he incarnates at a lower level. Satan touches his flesh eventually, and now he's something else. And eventually he becomes a human. But when we're talking about these types of beings, Job then goes on to start talking about he's something lower than a human. Eventually, in the book of Job, Job says his skin and his bones have turned black, that his outer appearance absorbs the light. It sucks the light, it sucks the energy out. So reading Job with this in mind, he starts out as an angelic watcher that turned his blind eye and was demoted down the ranks through the dimensions, and eventually became the thing that he feared, which is some type of what we'll call shadow being. The very conversation that we're having right now, that Job actually became one, and then he got rewarded in the end, and got his position back, and everything else came back to him, because he was tried. He was on trial, making his way through these ranks or down these ranks, and he got shown as one who wasn't evil, if you will. He just didn't know any better, kind of thing. So
Now,
I think that's what's going on here. That some people may be demoted to be one of these leeching spirits after this place, and then some others may be watching over the humans, because all of this is meta, all of this is multiverse. It goes, when we're talking about these spiritual ranks and watching over angels and watching over civilizations, you got to first watch over yourself. You first got to guard yourself, guard your thoughts, guard your mind, guard your diet, guard your judgment, guard your hands, all of that. So if you're rewarded by being a great guardian, watcher, or a governor, then you're exalted to a higher seat. And the biblical narrative is about this whole changing of orders and demoting and promoting people to higher positions and all of that. So I really think that that's what's going on.
Now, I want to get to the possible positive aspects that we're looking at, what these benevolent entities are. I've had my own, what you would call, contact experience. For me, it didn't happen until I was seeking spiritual knowledge, until I bettered myself, until I got myself into a healthy state. And I believe it wasn't until I was truly ready to have this experience that it actually occurred. And after that experience, it changed everything in my life. I was just doing this talk show as something that was a hobby before, and I turned it into a career after a series of these experiences that pushed me in that direction. And people have different understandings of what we're communicating with when things like this happen, when profound spiritual events happen, and it betters people's lives. Is it their higher self? Is it an aspect of themselves that is trying to come through and push them a certain way? Or is it angelic beings, or maybe a combination of everything? What do you think?
I think the latter. I think it's a little bit. It's a combination of it all. When we're talking about ascension and where you're going after this place or whatever the case is, we're not just talking about when you die and when you leave here. We're talking about what you have access to now, because whatever light that is in you, you're attracting and resonating at those frequencies, but also spiritually, what you have access to, who your friends are. When we talk about friends in high places, and whose name and who can call on you and who will listen. There's protocol all throughout the scriptures about certain, like even prayers that God hears. Like, you can't just go directly to God and demand God's attention, especially if you have blood on your hands and you're evil and all of these things. You gain the attention of other watchers that are under God. So those demonic entities, if you will, they exist at a level that's under God, and everything happens for a reason. That's the sovereignty. Is like, hey, if you steal, well, this is something telling you to get your stuff together and quit stealing, because you're going to have to deal with him. And so I think that that's how it's working. And we're getting access to those realms and to those friends in higher dimensions or lower dimensions. And I've been on both. I started out going, backward, if you will, getting into the demonic aspect of it as a practitioner, as just a teenager who was interested in this stuff, and opened up some doors and made some agreements with some things that was too powerful for me to close. And so I needed to do what I could, but really I needed assistance. I needed to call upon that higher power. So there's definitely a contrast. What shows up at one level, there's a level of correspondence at the other end. Well, if it's, I feel like Earth is like 0 point. This is a place where all the dimensions meet. And so from here, you can go up or down. And if you go up 2 levels, there's things, there's angelic beings, there's all types of things that are privy to you and present for you. But if you was to devolve 2 levels, 3 levels, whatever is available at +3, the shadow of it is available at -3. So we're talking about synchronicities and all of these kind of things that people are like, man, I'm seeing angel numbers, synchronicities, man. And I'm excited about life. What's the opposite of those things? People, and I praise God that not many people know about demon numbers, and they don't know about demonic synchronicities, where you're seeing numbers, phrases, and hearing voices, and they're coming to get you, and they're showing you visions of your death and how you're going to die, and you're plagued by it. And it's the difference between paranoia and pronoia, where God, the universe, the demons, all of them, and paranoia, everything and everyone's out to get you. And they're trying to take you out. And that's a realm of psychosis that people fall in. Negative level 3, whatever level that arrives at. But as positive level 3, now you got pronoia. Now you got God, the angels, the universe. Everything that's against me is actually here to serve me and to help me to become a better student and a better steward of the breath, of the body, of this time that I'm given. So now that everything's not here to kill you, it's here to help you, including the demons.
Wow, man. Now, you mentioned angel numbers and synchronicities, and this is something just a couple of years ago I thought was complete bullshit. I didn't buy into any of it. But after I started experiencing it on a daily basis, multiple times a day, for every day of my life, I had to change my mind on that a little bit, especially with the numbers and the synchronicities. What is your understanding of what is happening when we see these recurring numbers that correspond with different celestial beings?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say at one point that something's trying to get your attention. Something's trying to do whatever it can to get your attention, and seeing those repetitive patterns is a way to get your attention. And here's the kicker. It's they've always been trying to get your attention. They've always been trying to awaken you, or i.e. get you to remember who you are, where you came from before you incarnated, and why you're here. And so many people live this entire life and don't even think about that. But some people are plagued by that, like us, right? Once you remember, once you get a vision, you start asking these deeper questions. It only leads to more questions, but that's how you get the answers, is to ask those questions. But the synchronicities, again, if they've been happening your entire life, the clock always, twice a day, has said 11:11. Twice a day, your entire life. It wasn't until you stepped into a new level consciously that you were able to start paying attention and seeing the 11:11. Or now every time I look at the clock, it's 3:33. You've most likely looked at the clock many days and it was that, and it just meant nothing to you. It was not significant until it was.
And what we understand as manifestation, this is something else that I've experienced. It's so interesting, the way that things can unfold whenever you're applying positive energy to something. It seems like that if you take your first step towards whatever something you want to achieve and you have the best intentions behind it, the universe will take 5, 10 steps next for you to get you going, right?
Yep. Yeah, when you get into alignment to bring forth that which is in you, because we're all doing that by default. And so if you're trying to do that and there's things that prevent you, you know, you're helped along the way to get those things out of you, which act as roadblocks, right? If you want money, but you're not a good steward with money, you waste all of your money, but then you're asking for more, but you've already been given money, but you spend it on uh, frivolous things and you're not trusted with money. But here you are believing a vision that's going to come. So there's something that stands in the way of that manifestation because there's different times as far as how long does it take to produce something? How long does it take for this seed to give itself up and bring forth, bring forth fruit and turn into a tree and all of that. So there's always in the midst of the manifestation, seed time and harvest, but you have to be able to make sure that what the Bible would say, make sure the seed falls upon good ground and that as it begins to take root and begins to come forth, to manifest, to bring forth fruit in your life, you got to water it. You got to make sure that it gets sunlight. You got to make sure that when you throw the seeds, the birds don't come and eat the seeds. You got to make sure that as your plant is taking root and it's starting to grow, that the other weeds don't grow around it and choke it out. So all of that is dealing with how to manifest something. And everyone is great at manifesting by default. They just don't know it.
You mentioned God a few times, and I love hearing different understandings of what God could be to different people. What is your understanding of what God is? Do you believe it's some kind of source that we all emanate from, that we are all part of? The entire universe some consider as God? What is your understanding?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe God is the all in all. Anything that ever can exist, whatever created this, whatever allowed this to exist, everything beautiful, everything that is anything, right? So yeah, what we would call the universe, but not just the universe, because the universe is hostile. The universe doesn't care if you live or die. The universe doesn't care if you pay your bills. So I think that the idea of God is a personification, and it makes God or that creative force in the universe, right? It makes it more personable, something that actually cares about you, something that hears your prayer, something that's helping you versus let the chips fall where they may. So I do hold on to that term as a friend term, as one who is a friend of the creator of the universe. And I think that we all can be children of God and friends with God. I think we're all children in the case of that. But under God, there's other gods too. So we're going to get that straight. So when I say God, it is chaos. It is everything. It's where we came from. It's where we're going. It's who created the angels and who created the demons and who created the gods as well. So it just makes it personal, for me to be able to have a friend who cares about you, kind of thing. And so I definitely continue to use that, and I separate it from the universe as well. But it's still like everything that is over you. You know what I'm saying? Is a God or is a judge. Anything that you submit to, Jesus said, becomes your master. It becomes your ruler. So there's a level of honor to, if we was to honor what we'll call the supreme creator, then you got to be able to. You can't honor God while at the same time dishonoring his creation. You can't, because that's his children. So you can't honor me, but at the same time dishonor my child, my daughter, and say mean things or take from her or whatever the case is. Say, oh, I love TruthSeekah, man. TruthSeekah is awesome, but you got to honor, order. God is a God of order. So all of the other gods that exist to keep order, we honor them as well. Just like the demons exist, they're fallen gods, right? But they keep order as well, and they do a damn good job of it.
Now, before we exit the realm of non human entities, I go back and forth on my understanding of what extraterrestrials are. Do you believe that there are physical beings out there that are coming from either different dimensions or planets that can interact with us on a physical basis? Or do you think this is more of just a consciousness phenomenon, something that is more etheric, more is non physical? What do you think we're interacting with whenever people have extraterrestrial experiences that seem to be physical?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I see a lot of I've had a lot of encounters, and I see a lot of, what I call UFOs and things like that. But very rarely have I seen what looks to be a nuts and bolts craft, right? And I've had hundreds of sightings, and I can have them almost whenever I want. I'll say that. And most of the time they just look like entities. They look like light. They look like living organisms of light. And the scripture says, and all throughout the Bible, but even in the book of Enoch, that the angels, when they travel the heavens and through the multiverse, that obviously they travel at the speed of light. But when they come here and they have a task to do, that they are able to take on the appearance of a human, so, or humanoid, let's say that. So with that being said, that we're always entertaining some type of angel, entity, alien, if you will. But do they go to different planets and live? I think so. I think that I think that most of the other planets either were or are like what we are, and they're being watched over, and that these beings are traveling back and forth to watch over the civilizations, and to make sure, and to award those who are ready to be rewarded, and to bring judgment to those who aren't. So, but I've never seen, at least as far as, to my knowledge, an alien gray, if you will, like a humanoid. But, many times we see people and individuals that look like regular humans. And I think most of the time that those could be angels that are sent to watch over us, or have incarnated in human forms and just don't even know who they are yet, even if they came through a womb. This gets really deep. But yeah, so you have all of it going on at the same time. But different beings living on other planets that have the ability to travel here, probably.
Now, there's some extremely malevolent aspects to what we are being fed as the extraterrestrial phenomena from the mainstream. I've had plenty of people who identify as whistleblowers, people who claim to have been involved with black projects or secret societies or high-level elite groups that have either satanic practices or some other dark practices that say that there is a campaign, an ongoing campaign, a psychological operation to implant the idea of what extraterrestrials, with the mainstream idea of extraterrestrials, to guide humanity in a certain direction on their thinking of this. But I think that a lot of the negative aspects of what we see when we're looking at extraterrestrials, like military abductions and really nasty negative experiences, could possibly be us humans doing this.
Yeah, I think so. The MyLab experiments are really interesting, where people who talk about being abducted or waking up on a ship or something like that, and seeing the little green men or the alien grays kind of thing. And then many of them report looking in the corner, and there's a man in military garbs watching the whole process, or doctors or humans in the background watching these little green men mess with people and stuff like that. So, there's a lot to it. And so I think that a big part of it is to put fear and hysteria within the people, so that when you do see some type of strange lights in the sky, your mind goes immediately to those movies that you've seen about the abductions and Travis Walton, and really pushing that fear agenda with them as well. So I think that is a big part of it. But how they operate and what they're telling us, are people ready? Those questions. No, they're not. I don't know if I'm ready. It gets, because the more you the more you dig, the more you find out. It's first of all, your mind could never comprehend. That's why I'm saying about be ready. And if you just look at what we're still doing, arguing, wanting to kill for profit, wanting to hurt people for profit, and all of that kind of stuff. But yet we're mad at what the government's doing. Again, like we said at the beginning, like, yeah, I'm mad. I think it's wicked. But many of these people that we bump shoulders with every day are just as wicked and do things in the darkness and are nefarious. And given the platform, given the spaceship, given the technology where they could go and take advantage of people, they would do it in a heartbeat. So so I think that this seed, or this process here of us becoming light and being tempted and being tested and passing these tests, is your ticket out of here. Is your ticket to stop reincarnating as a confused human, and that you can remember who you are, pass these tests, and then when you pass on into the next realm, that you hear, well done, good and faithful servant. We knew you had it in you. Come on, you're going to the next level. We needed somebody like you to watch over humanity, or we needed somebody to watch like you to guard the sun, or to guard these other planets, or to guard these demons and tell them how far they can come and go each night. All of that's taking place. All of it. Like how they operate, what they look like, it blows the mind. It blows the mind. I've been catching a lot of this on camera, and been getting a lot of it on camera, and dissecting the footage, and the most of it, people talk about seeing specks of light and flashes of light and a shadow run by and those kind of things, or even in the space, you just see a little flicker of light. What that is in many cases, we've heard this before in the past, that it's some type of war, some type of galactic war, and it's a ship exploding. I've heard those kind of things from one of the first guys who had the night vision goggles, who talked about watching that. Ed Grimsley, he's no longer with us, but recording anywhere gradients of light, if you will, the sun, and especially right now, this stuff's showing up on camera. And when you slow the footage down, our minds can't comprehend beings that move faster than the speed of light. And within a second, there's been a whole war and a battle between angelic cells, or light and darkness, and within a millisecond. This is insane. This is insane. All of these entities going into and coming out of the sun, other entities that are protecting and fighting the other ones that are trying to get in. Our minds don't comprehend it. What it looks like many different things. It's as above, so below. It looks like sperm cells trying to get into an egg, and the egg being the sun, so that they can be birthed into another reality. And there's ones around it protecting, and then there's another one that comes up and consumes the one that's protecting, and he gets bigger. Everything that you're looking at under a microscope, amoebas and single cell organisms, how they fight and how they consume one another, and they get bigger, and another one comes and consumes him, like that. What that looks like is taking place in the skies above us. And this, and they're trying to go in the sun, and the sun is sacred. The sun is a god, for sure. It's a portal. All the stars are. And what happens when you go in? Why? And then when the sun goes down, all the religions have talked about this. They're all telling the same story. Egypt, they've been talking about it, Babylon, Sumeria. So it's not one or the other, it's all of them. And the Bible is an overview of all of them that helps piece all of the traditions together. That's why the Catholic Church is called the Universal Church. It's bringing all the traditions together. It's giving them a new name, and it's a mystery Babylon because it's hidden under a new name, but it's all of those religions that are truth. The only thing that's changed is the language, is the babble. Now we can't understand each other. So what Christianity has done is tried to take it together, but not for good. Not for good, still with that hierarchy as protectors, as priests over the people, but definitely hiding it from the people. But what's happening right now is you can't hide it anymore. That's what the apocalypse is. And I think we're going through that, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a perfect segue to what I wanted to get into next. I believe that we are in the midst of some sort of spiritual war that is us, the people. It's a good and evil battle, but it's us against them, those that want to control humanity. And I think that there are multiple agendas at play that coincide with this war: transhumanism, depopulation, infertility. There's agenda on top of agenda to, one, lessen the population, to keep us under more control and they have more power, and to usher in, I believe, this new era of what they consider to be their alchemical perfect human that is genderless, that is an androgynous. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's there's people who have decided all of this a long time ago, and many of us would believe that they were demonic, that they were evil, to allow the pain and the suffering to go on, and not just to allow it, but to provoke it, and to create not just order out of chaos, but create a boogeyman or create a problem so that they can then create the solution. Free will is powerful, the free will of the humans, and or any being, to be honest with you. It's, all beings have free will, but so that they would use that to create evil. That's what we're a product of that. We're a mixture of that. Again, when we talk about the soul and the spirit and creating a new human, there's many people who talked about how our DNA has been tampered with in the past. We're not just one thing. We are confused. We have multiple feelings within us. We're subject to the food. We're subject to the spirits. We're subject to the powers that be, that allow a ransom and use us as money for these entities, if you will. So when we get into depopulation and killing off masses of people, it is and always has been to a sacrifice and to honor a deity, to give blood, to give souls, so that they can remain and stay in power. But everyone knows that that's wicked, right? That's not, it's not really for the greater good that they would put people through that. I believe that that our true creators that have stepped away for a minute, when they return, those people have got some explaining to do of how they've treated the people that they've been watching over worse than they would treat cattle or treat animals. So that's the thing. If you were an animal, and they look at us as an animal, when the presidents address the nation, a nation is when you look up the etymology in the Bible, a nation is an animal. They're addressing the animals who aren't civilized and telling us what to do and giving us laws. And we are. You have that in you until you don't. Until you don't. We are here to leave the animal behind and to ascend and let that God particle, the God nature that's within you, rise, the Christ in you, which is the hope of glory of the whole universe is waiting for you to say yes and to wake up and to get into alignment, not with the animal that's in you, that's the mark of a beast, but to get in with the God nature that all of us have, all of us humans that are down here on the same level, we got both. And so we got to choose, and we got to keep feeding. We got to fast the devil out of you. You got to tell it no. You got to tame the animal, tame the beast. And that's what we're going through. And that's what gives you that's the true power and true authority, that you would rise to that level, you would rise to that occasion and become light. And when you are light, you are judgment in a dark world. And we're seeing that on a global scale. That's what this whole awakening is. That's the whole hey, let's turn the fire up. Or they don't want to get the injections. Well, let's kill off more of them until they all get it. We're gonna make you'll be begging for a shot after this, right? When you see all your family members die, when you see all the people you love take their last breath and gasp and be tormented and tortured like that, you'll willingly want to do whatever we tell you to do. But that's not us, you know. And I'm not saying that to throw anybody under the bus who got that, right? But I'm talking about control. I'm talking about hatred, where you give up your free will and you willingly bow down because you want to be protected. You want to be served by the gods of this world, who have proven time and 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 time again that they're demonic. So the gods are coming back. Are we talking about UFOs and spaceships? Yeah, to a degree, but here's the other way, but nobody told us. The church had it right to a degree, but they tricked you so you'd miss it, that the Christ would come back. And many people are waking up. They know that the Christ is coming back in them. It wasn't coming from the sky, but it's coming back through the breath and through us. So that as you get into alignment, you are the next up for the spirits that existed before the last, let's say, reset, if that's the word everybody wants to use. Before the last reset, those souls are coming back and they're speaking through us. So it's not as the animal Derek speaks, I step aside, I let the prophet Jeremiah speak. I let Christ speak. Everything that existed that was beautiful and good, I am choosing to try to allow me, my free will, my ego, to step aside and allow that to come forth. And we get rewarded when we do so. That's ascension, and that's what's taking place.
Yes, man, very well said. And another aspect of this is a problem that we're facing is that we, as a society, look for a savior. We look for this Christ figure outside of ourselves to get us certain places, to help us, to save us, to bring us to a golden age. But like you said, it's never going to happen. If you look at the personality type of individual that strives to be in these positions, these elite global positions of power, I mean, usually they have psychopathic tendencies, and it's not your best type of person that is seeking those positions. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them. And we keep looking to people like that to bring us to a better stage of our evolution, and that's never going to happen. Like you said, it's only going to be through us.
Yeah, we're waking up to that, and we're trying our best, and that's all we can do, right? Everyone wakes up, tries their best, and it's accounted unto them for trying, you know, and that's all you got to work with. And so that's when we're talking about reincarnation. I used what I had on the next time you incarnate, now you got technology. The next time, now you got this, right? So there's this evolution of what we got to work with, and we're a thorn in their spine. Like, they don't want us here. They don't want us here. And so they're at the point now they don't need us here, because they've raised technology where they don't really even need the slaves anymore. That the technology and all of these things that they have, they can continue to go on. But the reason this place isn't destroyed yet by the gods is because we're here. And because we're here, this place is being preserved for now. But if they kill all of us, or our soul or spirits leave and go to another place, it's destruction for them. And that's the one thing they're trying to prolong, is judgment. This is their kingdom. This is the best it gets for them. They have created islands where they do whatever they want to whoever they want. right? They're feeding us fake food while they live on, the delicacies and all of these things. So our I I believe that our eternal reward is that whenever we stand before the gods, and trust me, we're standing before the gods right now. But when you make that, when you get in that solar boat and you travel through to the great beyonds to be judged, and you're being judged now, is what I'm saying. It's a good thing. You want to be judged. You want to get the darkness out of you so that you stand with clean hands and a pure heart. That's what separates us from the animals, and that's what separates us from these psychopaths. Our God and our gods, plural, they hear our prayers, our cries. Whenever we are in alignment, in attunement, and we're in a position where they can hear us. When we stand under the sun, it's certain days where the sun opens up that we can put something in the sun because we're the children of God. And we can go and stand with clean hands and a pure heart under the sun and literally lift your hands up, allow the sun rays to judge you, spirits enter your body, and the gods hear your prayers. So let's block the sun. Let's make the people oppressed. Let's make them addicted to sex. Let's make them do all of these sinful things so that their God won't hear them, because they know that. So they're in the seat of power, pretending to be rulers, pretending to be watchers, and to pretending to care. Listen, my people, us listening, we care. We care. There's a part of us that does anyway. These people are 1,000% wicked. They had to forfeit that part of them that cared if they were even born with it, right? So when you stand and you start judging and you start speaking righteously, I'm not talking bias. I'm not talking about you judging out of hurt. When you become healed, when you step into alignment in the sun, and then you get the light in you, all of creation, when we talk about these angels, we talk about these demons, all of them stand at attention and listen. That's why Jesus said, I can call down 10,000 angels right now. I can call upon them. And what I'm telling you guys to do is to practice all of this I'm saying. Go sit in the sun, ask for them to come. Sit under the stars, ask for help, call upon their names, learn their names, and get into alignment and see what happens. My mind's being blown daily, and not just me. It's people, but unless we speak about it, how weird a lot of it sounds, for sure, but people are having the same experience. They want us to live for this world. No, this isn't. We're here to judge. We're here to get Christ. We're a star seed, is what they'll call it. We're a seed that came here and we sprouted and we took root, and now we've stepped aside so that the spirits of the ones that they killed, the righteous ones from our lineage, from Christ, Moses, all of these, whatever lines, the Apkalu, all the way to Babylon. If you're in alignment with them, they'll stand up for you. You're of them. And if you weren't, you can be. You can be, because they promote and they adopt according to the light. And we're experiencing this in real time.
Yeah, I am extremely hopeful for the direction we're headed in, and for the amount of people that I see awakening and questioning the narrative. And it's on top of that, those that are attempting to steer us in these negative timelines seem to be making a lot of mistakes. People are actually responding to those mistakes in the correct way, and I think it's going to cause this snowball effect to where eventually we won't be participating at all with these negative dark timelines, and we might have a chance to regain some of our human sovereignty. Where do you see us going in our future?
Yeah, I'm wide-eyed and hopeful too. While we're here, I'm gonna upgrade this place as much as I can. It is my duty, it's our duty to try to leave this place off a little bit better than we found it. So to do whatever is within our power to bring beauty to this place. And it's here. It already exists, but it's up to us to be able to see it. So the Bible says that the God of this world has blinded the eyes of those who are are of disobedience. When we open our eyes and begin to see beauty, and we begin to speak beauty, and maybe we don't see it around us, well, then it comes from within us. So we become a portal for that beauty. So now we speak to things that aren't beautiful. We speak to things that aren't lovely. And as we speak, they become lovely. They become beautiful. We make the best of this place instead of complaining. However many heartbeats we have, how many breaths we have in this, we use it and we utilize it as a good steward, so that when we do stand before the master, but again, we do that every day. And we got to understand that you will be answered. You will hear, well done. You did the best that you could. Whether that's here, paradise, whether that's in the next heavens, whether that's on another planet, in another star system, I don't know. But I do know that there are realms that exist that share with this one, that those dark ones used to be in bodies. And that's why they're prolonging judgment, because they don't want to go to that realm, because that's the next thing for them. So as long as they can continue to put their souls in bodies, as long as they can continue to do things to find, to rejuvenate the body, to create AI like you were talking about, to keep their consciousness, to have machines to keep them alive, then they're just prolonging their judgment. And so this is from Genesis to Revelation. This is from all of the holy books. I mean, Egypt is huge on this. And they made us even demonize these other cultures and think that they were bad, because the way that they showed them to us, and to think that ours was right or whatever. But it's all the same thing. The way that they remember, the way that souls carnate and reincarnate and surrect and resurrect, or souls are revived here. There's a process of it. And this is what's going on. But it's also for the betterment of the planet, of the beings that are from here originally, that we work with them and they get rewarded and we come together. The things things that kill us, there's treatments that the earth gives us, because our body is from the earth, but our souls are from another realm, but our spirits from the heavens. We are the Nephilim. We're a mixture of angel and demon and animal. But I think that the Bible teaches, and all the other texts too, that they all three can be rewarded and receive a place in this beautiful celestial kingdom.
I love it, man. I love the insights and different understandings. We're definitely going to have to do this again soon, man. So much good information. Before you head out, let the audience know where they can find your podcast, what your podcast is about, and where they can find your music, all the good stuff.
Cool, man. Yeah, thank you. You can just go to TruthSeekah.com, Truth, SEEKAH.com. And there you can check out my music, my podcast, my book, everything that I'm creating and bringing to the table, which is pretty much everything we've been talking about today. Don't really go in too deep on some of the transhumanism and the scary stuff. It gets you banned really quick. So I just try to find ways to articulate that and focus on the good, but I still talk about it without having to say it's plain, but
Excellent,
but I followed your lead, man. I usually don't, so people I'll let people know that I was able to share on here with you some things that I don't really, you're not going to catch on me talking on YouTube. So
Right on, man. I appreciate that. The audience appreciates that. And I love how deep we can get. And we'll definitely have to do this again sometime.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it and appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see you then.